topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Are you ready to take a journey? Let's connect with the healers of the world. It's that time. It's time for the Language of Healing on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Now here's your host, Emotional Wisdom Training Specialist Nicole Fortin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Language of Healing on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Today, we're talking about your unconscious blueprints and what that is and how they are either limiting you or motivating you through life. We have an expert here with us as a guest, Sue Lester, and we'll get to meet her real soon. And she'll tell us more about what it is, what are unconscious blueprints and what is head trash and how to clear that, and some tips and tricks on maintaining a clear, spacious mind, body, spirit, we'll say. In my line of work with traditional Chinese medicine and emotional wisdom training, you know, I'm often working with this aspect with clients as well, is the things from the past or our previous experiences and how they're affecting us today. These and a lot of it is unconscious, right? We have our conscious body, or subconscious mind, and our unconscious heart, and all three of those aspects are ideally working in unison together in a cohesive manner, where they're moving us all forward at the same time with the same intention and all on board. Do you notice when things are really in flow and really in alignment, like the body feels good, the mind and the spirit, and it's generally a happier day, happier life. And sometimes the life is challenging. Of course, we run into challenges and life is not always fair. And we are always having to adapt to change, because changes are always happening in the cycles. And so the more we can work with these aspects, the more easy and fluid our lives become, even if it's not always easy. But the acceptance and the forward movement is important. And so maybe you've noticed these themes in your life or situations that repeat. And you wonder, oh, here it is again. I thought I dealt with you before, and here you are showing up again. Whatever. That's very unique to us. These things that keep repeating, and so it begs the question of what might this be trying to tell me, or what might really be going on there. So there's this hidden, hidden bits that are deep in the unconscious, right? And that's where the fun of exploring that. I think it's very tied with personal development and living more purposeful life with joy and ease. And that's what I'm all about, is enjoying that as an adventure. Life is an adventure, and using our bodies, our minds, and our spirits as our vessel to enjoy life through. And so this topic here, I'm quite excited to get into, because it's something that I delve into often, and I'm always curious, about how I can be better in my business, better in my health, better in my relationships, and showing up fully authentic, and not to say that lightly authentic, but it's like in full alignment, right? Everything on board, and I'm in integrity. I know my values, what's important to me, and this creates space, right? A bit of more spaciousness when you know, and you can be grounded in that. But here today, we're going to talk about some of those things that might be limiting and sabotaging your health, wealth, and relationships. And so our guest today is specializing in clearing head trash. Sue Lester, she's Australia's leading expert in optimizing unconscious blueprints. She shares insights with individuals, teams, and audiences worldwide, focusing on creating lasting behavioral change through mindset and identity shifts. She has published the powerful do-it-yourself head trash clearing book, The Face Within: How to Change Your Unconscious Blueprint, and is working on many other projects that we'll get into today in how to support you through, all the things that distract and add to the head trash and how to clear it, let it go. So let's welcome our guest, Sue Lester.
Hi, Nicole. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining us today. And you're joining us from Brisbane.
Yes, yeah, just north of Brisbane
Australia.
on the beach. Beautiful. Well, actually, it's cloudy and miserable today, but, normally it's sunny and warm.
Yes, I remember Brisbane. I had the pleasure of visiting there once, and the beaches, a bit north of it in Noosa, I think.
Oh, yes.
Noosa Head.
Yeah.
And the beaches in Australia are just incredible.
Oh, yeah. Best in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, good for you. Good for you. So what have you been up to? Like what are some of the projects that are inspiring you these days? And
See, I've just come back from holidays, been blessed to have holidays, trekking in a beautiful wilderness called Carnarvon Gorge. And then we came back to kitchen renovations. So I'm just getting my head back into work mode.
Okay.
So, in terms of work projects, I'm still, the first book I wrote, The Face Within: How to Change Your Unconscious Blueprint. I mean, there's so much in that. I just keep bringing out more and more. So I'm developing more online programs from that book. I'm still working on another book, the Answering the Call to Adventure, which is all travel tales seen through both the wisdom and fog of hindsight. Because, sometimes you're getting amazing experiences and learnings along the way, which it's only afterwards when you look back, you realize the impact and what it was you actually needed to learn from that experience. So I'm playing with that, the online programs, of course, my one-on-one mindset coaching clients and healing, that continues. And there's always something to do, like opportunities like this. Jump on board, have a chat with other people, always up for that.
Right.
When I was listening to you at the start, you said something about, life isn't always fair. And what I've noticed over the years is if you let go of the idea that it's even meant to be fair, fair, unfair, good, bad, you just let that go. It's just life. And the stronger you are in yourself, the less head trash you're carrying around with yourself, less emotional baggage, the fitter, the happier, the healthier you are, then it really doesn't matter with life's ups and downs as much, because you've got that inner resilience to bounce back. And I guess that's what your work's all about, and mine too, building that resilience, mind, body, and spirit. So, you have a down on a roller coaster, but you come back up afterwards, and you know that you've got whatever you need inside to make a success of your life, whatever that means for you.
Right. Because the ups and downs are always there, and they're this part of life. It is life. So accepting that and riding more fluid waves, or riding the wave, So I'm interested with the languaging, because I love language and playing with that. And so I'm curious to know why you chose The Face Within and what that might mean to you in talking about this head trash.
Okay, so The Face Within, it was what came to me as the ideal title, because your unconscious blueprint is literally your face within, your image of yourself. So yourself, you also have unconscious blueprints of other people. And those images, those faces, if you will, have enormous impact on how you show up in the world, your level of confidence, your level of self-esteem. It impacts your health, impacts your relationships, your level of success in all areas of your life. So it's understanding it's that image of yourself. And some people actually literally see photographs inside, others see whole movies. You know, it's different from person to person. But it's a case of, and they say that a picture paints 1,000 words. So that's what we do inside to store enormous amounts of information. We just have images. And by changing those images, the characteristics of those images, we can change our unconscious blueprints, our programming, we can change memories, we can change habits. You know, our whole identity can be shifted inside by changing the characteristics of those faces within. Unconscious blueprint, well, you know, we're not aware of it, what's happening, until you learn about it. And so that's where the unconscious came from. And then our it's just running the show beneath the surface, the same way that, you know, parts of our body just do things automatically. You know, our fingernails grow, our cells renew, without us having to consciously think about it. So that's the unconscious. And then the blueprint is the idea that it's actually the I normally describe it like this. You know, you're aware we've got a conscious mind and an unconscious mind. So if you think of the conscious mind as your captain on board your ship of life, below deck is your crew, your unconscious mind. So for your ship of life to sail smoothly, your captain and your crew need to be communicating effectively. All right. If they don't, your ship will zigzag or stall and maybe even turn around and go backwards. So your unconscious blueprint is like the map or specifications manual that your crew are using to make navigational decisions as you move through life. So if that blueprint is out of date or a bit battered and worn and, you know, a disempowering blueprint, you know, doesn't have the right specifications for a smooth trip, well then, you know, you're going to have a rough travel. So optimizing that blueprint, bringing it up to match who you want to show up in the world, so inside and outside, conscious and unconscious match, is the most powerful way I've found to help you move forward, whether that's healing emotionally, physically, financially, romantically. It's all part of it. Is that making sense?
Yeah, I love that analogy, because I often relate to that sailing, you know, being the captain of your ship. And because there's a lot that's, yeah, you're right. There's the captain, there's the crew, there's the vessel itself that needs to be working for you. And then there's like uncontrollable factors, right? So the more on board and on the same page. Yeah, weather. Yeah, definitely.
Life
right?
happens.
Yeah, exactly. So what are some ways, like when you're working with clients, that you start to unravel or uncover some of these unconscious blueprints?
Okay, so it's just a matter of to identify is actually just going within and having a look. And, you know, being aware that there's no wrong answer, it just is what it is. And just seeing, you know, obviously people need to be relaxed and feel comfortable, but just seeing what image you have of yourself inside. And it's quite common, particularly for, you know, if you're one of these people who always thinks that they should be more confident or should feel more grown up than you do right now, well, chances are your unconscious blueprint could be of when you were much younger. Or if you're someone who struggles to shed excess weight, or has a label of yourself as a shy person, well, then you could have a disempowering unconscious blueprint as well. So it's a case of just identifying what it is. And sometimes, you know, whether it's a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 14-year-old, maybe, you know, early 20s, whatever it is, usually that triggers a memory anyway. It might be the last time someone felt safe. It might be the last time someone was feeling traumatized or unsafe. And it's important that people understand you don't need to relive any past trauma. It's just that that's how unconscious blueprints are formed at significant points in your life.
Are they almost like memories?
Not so much memories. They might trigger memories, but it's literally like a snapshot. Just an image of yourself. Like I said, some people will have movement in their images, but a lot of people it's just like a still shot. of a particular period in time or a particular age. Some people, I was thinking of a woman I worked with, she was actually a gym instructor, and she was really struggling with her business because she just felt like she was so fat and lumpy, and she had a thing about her hips and her thighs. They were just so huge. No one would ever want to work with her, because who'd want to work with someone deformed like that? I mean, to look at her, she looked fine to me. She just looked like a normal, healthy body. And when we looked at her unconscious blueprint, it was literally like a kid's drawing, like a little head and stick arms, and then there's massive butt and thighs and little stick legs. Like her whole identity had been reduced to her insecurities around her actual body. So that was an unusual one. Others, they've been much older. So, it just depends what's happening. So letting go of any expectations about what yours might look like, and knowing there can be more than one, a series of unconscious blueprints as well. So then it's a case of working out, and we take the best from the past and bring it through, but I've got a neuro-linguistic programming process which changes the characteristics of the pictures. So then it's sort of like reprogramming, really. Your identity gets filed in a different place.
So you start with how one sees oneself, almost as an image, and maybe even drawing it, or just describing it.
I've got a little checklist of characteristics, so I just go through and ask lots of questions, near or far, that sort of thing. It's in movement, it's like I said, it's part of neuro-linguistic programming. It's the actual tool I use. But it just describes to me, and then we just change whether something's bright or dim or near or far or large or small or very large. We just change the characteristics, and that changes the image, changes the unconscious blueprint. So it's actually incredibly complex, but the process is actually really simple and quick and just has amazing impact. So that was very exciting when I discovered that they existed, and that was the best way I found to change it. In my book, I do actually describe how to identify your own and how to change it. I describe a process in there called, for those people who do NLP, a swish pattern, because that was easy to describe. But that's not, I use a submodality shift for myself when I'm working with clients, simply because I find that easier for me and a lot more powerful. But the process in the book will work for someone doing it themselves.
Okay, and so who might, I know that NLP and these perspectives are beneficial for anybody, but where do you see it the most beneficial, or where the majority of your clients and people that you're working with, trying to move towards?
There's actually so many applications, because
because you do group work as well, right?
Yes, at different times they do groups. But it's so for an individual, so a level of confidence, relationship with yourself, because you have to heal your relationship with yourself before you can actually heal relationships with other people and do well out in the world. So some people come to me, they're at that stage. Others are fine with themselves, but they have relationship issues with other people. So then we look at, okay, so what's their unconscious blueprint of their manager or their employee or their spouse? A common one is actually relationships with children, because, children grow up. But if you hold an unconscious blueprint of your child as a vulnerable little 6-year-old when they were so cute and needed you so much, and they're now 36 or 26 or 16, your relationship with that child won't be as fulfilling, as rewarding, as healthy as it could be. And if your child is always telling you, oh, God, mom, or whatever you call them, stop treating me like a baby, that has an enormous impact. And I've helped parents stop giving lots of money rescuing their children, because they saw the child who's now in their 20s as needing rescuing. But if you keep rescuing someone, you're actually compounding the problem, because they never learn their lessons, they never grow up. And in the cases I'm thinking of, the adult children actually resented their parents for keeping them locked into this pattern, and also didn't respect them because they gave them money. Idiots. So applications in terms of business, I've had clients who have struggled to get their invoices paid, and I'm trying not to cough right now. Excuse me.
Go ahead, take a little water break. Yeah, very, very interesting, because so these unconscious blueprints are shifting, with years, with, maybe depending on the situation, you almost have to grow and evolve with it. I can relate almost to the Peter Pan syndrome, I'll call it, where I think part of me is, I love the exploring and adventurous kind of imagination, and then there's the reality of, being an adult and, get these things, a bit more structure. And so I don't know, personally, I can relate to that one as being maybe a unconscious blueprint of mine. And I've traveled so much over the last decade, and I've been really working on bridging the two together. So
exactly, and that's what I meant by bringing the good things through.
Right.
So if it did turn out, for example, that you had an unconscious blueprint of yourself as, I don't know, 14-year-old, whatever. So that serves you like the spirit of adventure, the excitement, the curiosity, all of that. That's great stuff. You don't want to lose that. So we bring that through, but we leave behind the the teenagers' way of making decisions, sometimes, and the level of confidence, because as teenagers, sometimes it's yay and other times it's So it's balancing that. And between 14 and your current age, there's a lot of wisdom you've gained, a lot of education, a lot of experience. So it's bringing through the youthful excitement, curiosity, spirit of adventure, and combining that with adult wisdom, experience, knowledge, and you get the best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm. I always say it's like being 14, but with the wisdom of a 40-year-old, right? Like kind of the youthfulness of the 14 with the wisdom of the
yes, you need that combination.
Yeah.
Then some people get stuck with that younger unconscious blueprint, and they don't even have an adult one. It's common to have both, but some don't even have that. They're just, I've had clients who say, we've updated their unconscious blueprint, it's like, now I feel like I belong. Previously, I'd been into a room, like a networking event, a business event, whatever, and I always felt like I didn't belong with all these older women. And now I actually feel like I belong, because I'm no longer a 6-year-old showing up or a 12-year-old showing up. So it really has enormous impact on all different areas of life.
Yeah, how interesting. Because I work a lot with the body, like the physical body. That's maybe where my first training is. And I know from a lot of the training and different holistic approaches from around the world that the mindset, so we'll call it, or this unconscious blueprint, really plays a role. I mean, they're not separate, mind, body, heart, right? Or spirit.
They're integrated. Yeah, mind, body.
Yeah. But it's like so I'm just thinking of this. If you have a conflict or something where you're a little bit challenged in, like stepping into a room and feeling confident, just the physical, like how that translates into the physical body as well. And so, how someone will come in with, I don't know, I'm just thinking right now of the forward rolled posture, right? The kind of being small and not wanting to be seen, and really transforming that posture comes more than just training the muscles. It's exploring this unconscious blueprint. And
so that's who you are. You walk in and you're able to be confident, and how you feel inside radiates out. So that will either attract or repel people in the room.
Right.
Particularly if you're in business, you want to be confident because you're expecting people to trust you with their business, with their health, with their money, their resources, their relationship issues, whatever line of work you're in. So if you're not confident in yourself, how can you expect them to trust you and be confident in you, or not even approach you because you're obviously such a scaredy little cat. You haven't fixed your own stuff, so how can you help me? That
right.
sort of
And it's like an energetic level. We can perceive it in more than just the verbal cues, right? It's like the body language, it's the energetic realm. So if you are presenting with business, like, or to clients or proposing something, but you're showing up as that 6-year-old. It's amazing. That's
congruent. And even if people aren't consciously aware of something's not right, they'll sense it. I mean, we're incredibly in tune. We just often tune out the fact we're in tune. That makes sense.
Right. Yeah, I like that.
People
so do you work then? That kind of leads me to a question around intuition, because I think that training these, I don't know, I kind of like to look at them as superpowers, or not superpowers, but like less, the dimmer switches on some of these abilities that really help us read these messages or interpret more of what's going on, right? Like you might see something, but how do you interpret it? Where do you go from there? We might know in our intellect mind that this is something, but how to transform it into something practical, material.
It's being open, I think, and giving yourself permission to ask for help. If something's not quite right, well, chances are there's someone who can help you. Is that what you meant? I got a little bit lost there.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I know I tend to go into like all these different thoughts as well.
Oh yeah, there's a little speech bubble saying, "Pick me." No, it's my turn. No, I've got this great idea. Listen to me.
Okay, so let's talk then about a little bit of the head trash. So because I kind of view that as, like little many thoughts, and not that they're trash. I believe that they can still be valid, but it's like organizing them, clearing. Yeah, it is all trash.
Not all trash.
Okay.
Okay, so head trash, that's what wakes you up at, I don't know, 3 o'clock in the morning with all the should haves, the if onlys, the what ifs, it's the reliving memories from the past and expecting them to happen in the future. It's going out in the future and telling yourself scary stories about how you're going to fail, how you're going to be rejected, all of that stuff. And I use that term head trash because that was actually a gift to me from a client. I was working with a business coach. He was a brilliant business coach, but he was having marital issues. So he hired me to help him with that side of life. And he had a workshop for 40 of his best clients, invited me along, and he pulled me up on stage and he said, "Hey guys, I want you to meet Sue. She clears my head trash." And I thought, oh, yes, I like that. That's what I do. I mean, healing's part of that. But it's all the unhelpful thoughts, the programming, the habits, the unconscious blueprint is what I discovered later in my work by listening to my intuition. I was working with a client. I heard a very insistent voice, which didn't sound like mine. And I actually listened to that and followed its guidance. Excuse me. And that's how I discovered what I now call unconscious blueprints. And I also listened to guidance for how to actually change them, heal them, optimize them. So, we've all got head trash. It's just how you deal with it that makes the difference. Because you can have everything, all your little ducks lined up, everything fine, and then you'll push yourself, you'll take yourself to a next level in your business or your career or life adventure. And, head trash will come up again to a different degree, different set of problems. So it's having that resilience in yourself and the skills, or someone who can help you tap in and make those changes to keep you running smoothly. So another analogy for head trash is it's up here, but if you think of your path of life, and you've just got lumps of head trash that you either have to jump over, climb over, or just move out of the way to move forward smoothly.
It's a lot of energy. If the more head trash you have, there's more consumption of precious energy that could be used in other areas of your life. I kind of see it like that.
Absolutely.
Because either it gets your attention, you spend time like thinking about it, it wakes you up at night. It might stop you from really moving forward in a goal or showing up with that confidence.
You've got a task to do or a problem to solve. And before you can even got the headspace to get to there, you have to climb over all your, am I good enough? Do I know enough? What if I get it wrong? And, climb over all that rubbish, the head trash, before you even get to the point where you can even start thinking about solving the problem. So yes, you're right. Enormous amounts of energy is spent battling with the head trash unnecessarily. Well, it's necessary if you've got it, but you don't need to have that much head trash. You can clear it out of the way.
Right. I kind of look at these things like it's a form of hygiene. I'll use myself as an example because I do all this work because I need it. So, say I have a messy room or a workspace, I can't actually sit and create something until I clean it up. That's how I feel. It's like, but I don't know if that's necessarily true, right? I could just sit and do the work, but there's part of me maybe that wants to clear the space to allow. So it's almost like head trash, but in a physical, like I think that's where the connection can show up again too. But then just keeping on top of the cleanliness, right? Or the dishes, if you let the dishes pile up for too long, it's way more work to clear it, right? Or
a friend who's a professional organizer said the magic is in the maintenance. So you do the big blitz, but then you just do a little bit each day to keep on top of everything. Because if things pile up, whether it's head trash or relationship issues or health issues, it's huge. So instead of sweeping up a bit of dust, you've got a mountain to climb.
Right.
So much better to do little bits at the time and keep on top. And some people have that programming that, that's just who I am. I'm just the messy person. And that could be actually an example of rubbish or head trash. You can change that thought, that identity of yourself, which could have been a label your parents gave you back when you were a kid, to be someone who's organised and efficient. I always tidy up after myself. And that way, things don't pile up. You don't end up with lots of mess around you.
That sounds so peaceful when you say that. I always tidy up after myself.
You can't see the rest of my office, though, can you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, but I think I like that. The magic is in the maintenance.
Yes.
I mean, that's the root of traditional Chinese medicine, as well as is a preventative medicine. And it's really about how we live, in accordance with the day, the season, the time, the situation, and being in that level of acceptance and just not sweeping it under the rug, right? Just dealing with it as it shows up. And
that's all areas of your life when you think about it. It's not just tidiness, it's your health, look after that. Get rid of the splinter so it doesn't get infected or whatever. If there's an issue in a relationship, the sooner you deal with it, the better, because otherwise you each talking stories in your head and things get worse and walls get built when they don't need to be, just from misunderstanding. Ignoring things doesn't make them disappear. They're still there. So,
but in the unconscious, it's kind of hidden. We can get away with it to a certain degree.
Now that's where the body comes in. Because while you're consciously shoving things, hiding, tucking them into corners so you don't have to see them, don't have to acknowledge them, don't have to deal with them, your body's saying, hang on, that feels uncomfortable, that hurts, that aches, hurts my stomach. I'm going to have to put a big layer of fat around that issue So you can't feel it anymore. I'm going to have to grow something around that issue to really, lock it into place, hide it. So, the body will respond. If you're not looking after what's up here, your body will be still sending you messages. You don't want to think about it, but your body will be talking to you. And of course, if you ignore what your body's telling you, well, then you get seriously ill. So, absolutely connected to that.
Mm-hmm.
And you would come across that in your work too.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where, because of my disciplines, I studied massage therapy, traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture, hatha yoga. They're all they all incorporate, all three of those aspects of they're body centric, right? They're touching the body or stretching the body. But I really learned through those practices that it's much, much more. There's these different aspects that come together. So you can't separate them. I think that it's, I often have, it's almost like being a counselor, I think when you do hit a spot that has a lot of charge or, releases can be quite emotional as well. And maybe you don't know why it's triggering or a response like that, but this is our way of expressing that, but it's easier to come in. The body speaks the loudest, right? It's easier to call for help when you have like a spasmy muscle, right? Or some upset digestion or can't sleep.
And that's when it's really important you're careful about who you choose to ask for help from, because what came to mind then was conventional medicine. If you've got a pain, well, you go to a conventional doctor and they treat the symptom. Well, not all doctors. The majority I've come across, they treat the symptom rather than looking at the cause. It could be an emotional cause. It could be head trash. It could be lots of things, but just treating the symptom doesn't work. And sometimes I've noticed that people come to me, or chiropractors send the clients to me, or physiotherapists, because they've got issues that the problem will just move from one part of the body to the next because the message hasn't been heard yet. Right. That healing, that deep level healing that needs to happen. So, body will just keep yelling from different parts of the room, so to speak, until you finally pay attention. So, it's endlessly fascinating. But coming back to the unconscious blueprint, that internal programming, I work with women who have struggled to shed excess weight or even have a strong self-esteem, because inside, if your unconscious blueprint is, might be your chronological age, but it might be fat and frumpy. And until you shift that, you can't be the polished, trim fit, professional person that you might want to show up in the world as. So, there's just so many different connections. Fascinating creatures, humans.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. I know it's endless work. I love all of everything about healing, or the body and how we can really optimize our life. I think, why not? If we're here and we have this body, I'm more of a curious mindset of, what else can we do? What more can we do? So I find it's a lot of unraveling, because we get, so I know we get wound up, right? Or we take in, like a sponge, we take in all of these things, and maybe we're taught at a young age to be aware of our body and our mind and our emotions, but not many of us have that opportunity, right? Or the tools. I think that
often the opposite. We're told to repress.
Right.
The old classic boys don't cry. That's emotion. You repress that. Pull up your big girl panties.
Right.
Stop acting like a girl. Don't show emotion. We get a lot of messages that our bodies, when we're really little, I think we're in tune with what our body's telling us. We know something's not right, but that tends to get squashed out of us unless some people are blessed to have parents or an environment where that's actually encouraged to tune in and listen to messages. Rest of us sort of bounce along and then rediscover it in our adulthood somewhere along the line.
Yeah, and do you think that would be like the midlife crisis, or what that's called?
That terminology, midlife crisis, makes me think of some balding man who's bought himself a red sports car.
Yeah.
So I'd like to think of it, it's just you've got a bit more space in your life to look up and around and notice. And for some people, they have, it can be a traumatic event, like it can be an accident or a cancer or, some illness that sort of picks them up, shakes them up and throws them back down. And then they've got an opportunity to go, okay, I've got headspace, time to think about, is this how I want my life to be? And in the bigger picture, I think the pandemic has pretty much picked us all up, shook us up and thrown us back down, and given us an opportunity to think, well, is this how I want to live my life? What's important to me, on a bigger scale? I guess we shouldn't go into that too much. There's too many variables you can disappear to there. But that idea that, and for me, it was, when did I start? I was invited to an event by a new boyfriend, and it just opened up new possibilities that I hadn't even occurred to me. It wasn't even in my world, just wasn't on the radar. But once you start looking at something, of course, then other things related to that pop up. That's our reticular activating system, a sense of awareness. What's important to you will show up. That's why it's really important you focus on what you want rather than what you don't want. Focus on what you do want to see, and then it will pop up, people, experiences, and then you set off on that path. But it's never too late until you're dead. But, any age, younger the better, because then you've got less, actually, I was going to say then you've made less mistakes and disasters, but, they're all learning experiences, potential learning experiences anyway. Some people don't learn, they just have the same experience over and over and over again. But, they're all opportunities to learn.
Yeah, it's true. It's all part of the journey. It's not good or bad. It's, just what
is.
Just is. But I do, and I love working with kids too, because I think that there is quite a benefit to learning some of these tools and techniques and having the awareness at a younger age, because then there's less to unravel. So where does, I'm thinking also with this clearing the head trash and the maintenance in Chinese medicine, that's also a treatment principle, where we'll clear the excess, but meanwhile also like building the deficiencies. So it's like clearing and building. And I think, I'm curious to know your thoughts around meditation and what that might, is that something that you work with? And I know that that's a big, broad word, but I really think that meditation is the ability to focus. It's like, what is important to you? What do you value? What is your intention? Is your attention going towards that which you want versus, maybe being sidetracked?
Yes. So with the, I'll backtrack a little bit to answer that question. So when I'm working with people, identifying and optimizing their unconscious blueprint is sort of like one of the first steps. And once we've got the image that we want, well, then to reinforce that, then we get rid of excess negative emotions and old habits and old beliefs. And, there's a lot of work around that, particularly depending on how much head trash someone's got. Meditation, yes, there's lots of misconceptions, and it means so much for so many people, as you said. I use it in terms of more a mindfulness, as in bringing yourself back to the present, because a lot of our fear, our anxiety, our stress comes from the past or the future, and neither of those are real. Like the only moment in your life that's actually real is right here, right now. So what you choose to do right here, right now, that's what creates your future. So that's why it's so important. So meditation, mindfulness, de-stressing techniques, I've got quite a few I teach clients. It's all about coming back to now where you're safe. And if you're not safe in the present, like your relationship is abusive, whatever, well, that's a big sign. You need to get out. You need to have a safe space in the world where you can be, where you can heal, where you can regroup, and then move out into the world. So meditation in various forms, and some people think that you have to sit cross-legged and stare at a candle or whatever. But you can do active meditation. It's whatever you need to bring yourself back to now where you're safe, where your body can relax. Because, our modern lives are so busy and we're on high alert all the time. And that's why we have so many aches, pains, tensions. Because our body's fired up and we're exhausting our adrenals because we're ready to fight that, the saber-toothed tiger that's out there in the modern world. Whereas really we need downtime, and meditation's beautiful for that in many forms, just to bring ourselves back to present. Body can fully relax. So I'm all for it. And particularly if you do it so you're fully relaxed before you go to bed, and then you can sleep well. Got lots of activities for people who, because if you're not sleeping well, that impacts on your health and your ability to think clearly too. So they're all interconnected. So did I answer your question about meditation?
Yeah, I love it, because I also believe that there's a misconception about what meditation is, and that's why I was interested to hear your take on it, because I'm with you that it's something that can be practiced in every moment. You don't have to be sitting cross-legged, but I think it's being present and as in alignment as possible, right? And so I'm a fan of this kind of work that does incorporate some of these other life aspects, especially when it comes to the physical body, which is kind of where my area of specialty is, but that they're not separate and they're connected. And we're running out of time. Sadly, it's been a great conversation and lots to uncover. So if our listeners can tune in to your work at www.suelester.com, and that's SU.
Oh, not with an S on the end? I just saw it flash up. No, that's it. It's all right. It's just been corrected. Oh, it must have been a typo.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. And you're offering a free gift for our listeners as well, should they choose to accept a complimentary session, 30-minute 15 minutes session there. And we can find that on calendly.com/SueLester/15 minutes. Yes,
that's it. And if they'd like,
or we can put that into the comments
for free, they can just email me via my website.
Free copy of your book.
No, free copy of the first 3 chapters.
Of the first 3 chapters. Okay, great. And you have a great Facebook group that we can tune into as well. And that's at Facebook at Staying Sane in Crazy Times.
Yes. So mindset tips, techniques, and humor. A few laughs. No politics, just a safe space to just, sort through stuff.
Safe space. Oh, thank you for sharing your presence and your wisdom and your work with us today on the language of healing. It was a great benefit to have you here and sharing your tools.
Thank you, Nicole. My pleasure.
Yes. So we'll close off with a question to you listeners. What will you take with you from this conversation that will support you for the rest of your life?
Wow, what a show today, and the journey does not stop here. Come travel the world with Nicole every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time as together we become more fluent in the language of healing on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV. See you next week.